I've got information from what emerged in the Cabinet Committee on Security. There was a full briefing by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval, who said that a large airstrike wiped out a section of the top commanders of the Jaish-e-Mohammed. 25 commanders, the Indian CCS was told, have been killed in this airstrike. The target demolished wasn't an ordinary terror launch pad or base. The National Security Advisor provided details in the CCS meeting that this was a virtual garrison. The terror facility destroyed had firing ranges, explosive test ranges, air-conditioned offices for trainers, barracks for those who are under training. The facility demolished by the Air Force had facilities like swimming pools, recreation centers. It had been built by the ISI and the Pak Army. There were a lot of terrorists who were there because, and this is crucial, Gaurav, and this was part of the CCS briefing, that they had been moved away from the LOC launch pads, which is why we had to go so far deep inside Pakistan, that these terrorists who ordinarily may have been on terror launch pads along the LOC had been taken in, which is why India had to go in further to hunt them down and smoke them out.
And Rahul, this sends out a very strong message that wherever terrorists may be hiding in Pakistan, they may not be at launch pads, they may not be at their staging camps, but wherever they're hiding, India will hunt them down and India will take them down. And that's exactly what has happened, as Air Marshal Gokhale was rightly pointing out, based on pinpoint intelligence about the whereabouts of terrorists. Those who were withdrawn from the launch pads, Rahul, they were then taken not to Bahawalpur, because Bahawalpur was under national and international scrutiny at that point of time. They were taken to this camp in Balakot, one of the largest terrorist training centers, operational since 2001. So it's been operational for decades. It's a well-established terrorist training camp, and this is where the indoctrination of terrorists take place. On pinpoint intelligence, that's the place, as you pointed out through that CCS note, that's the place where the Indian Air Force struck using precision-guided munition. As Kamar Chima says, destroying some trees, but as the CCS note very carefully and clearly says, it has inflicted a body blow on Jaish-e-Mohammed in Pakistani territory and not POK.
Okay, we've now got General Vinod Bhatia with us. He's been Director General Military Operations. General Bhatia, welcome. Your sense as the man who's been involved in attacks using the Indian Army in the past, your sense of the Air Force being called into action, being sent across the line of control for the first time in 50 years?
Yes, I think it's a game changer.
In what way is it a game changer?
You know, we created decision dilemmas for Pakistan. We have demonstrated a strategic resolve. We have demonstrated a political military will. We have shown them the capabilities that we can take out any target that we want and get back. You know, Balakot terrorist camp, the Jaish camp, is a mother terrorist camp actually, and from there they have other camps from where these people are sent out there to carry out the terrorist activities, and they infiltrate across India. So taking this camp out is, I think, a signal, a message that you'll have to pay for the terrorism which you spread in India and Kashmir in particular. So I think this has been done exceedingly well. There was a package which has gone, and they have demonstrated a courage, a competence, a commitment, and they've synergized everything and they put together. And I'm very happy to say it was a Jaish camp. It is no longer a Jaish camp, so that is, I'm talking the past tense. It was a mother camp which has been destroyed. So what do you know, at your time in military operations, what do you know about Balakot? What kind of operations were taking place over there? Why is this particular area so important? See, Balakot, like I said, was the mother camp. It is a big camp. It is a little away from the local villages out there. I believe it's on top of a hilltop. And that is where they're housed out there, the terrorists are housed there, they're radicalized out there, they have madrasas out there, they have a training sort of a range out there, they have a firing range also out there. So these chaps are trained out there, and from that camp, they're sent to camps which are nearer the line of control, and thereafter they're infiltrated into our territory, our side of the line of control from the launch pads.
As DGMO in the past, you would have war-gamed Pakistan's potential responses to an Indian attack of this nature. What do you believe the enemy will do next?
No, I don't think they have any capability to do anything. The fact that they have denied that this has taken place is an indicator that they don't plan to do anything.
No, but they also
but that
say
does not
in
mean
that
that we should not.
Imran Khan, that we will strike at a time and place of our choosing.
Yeah,
is that just bravado and
that is a statement which we have used very often. It's now the Pakistanis are taking a cue from us. But I do feel that Pakistan does not have the capability and ability, other than rhetoric, other than some sort of rhetoric for domestic compulsion, to do anything. That does not mean that we should not be prepared for it. We should always be prepared, and which we are prepared. And this is something we have done, a strategy where we have demonstrated to Pakistan that the terror which you support will go punished. It's not punishment we are talking about. It is to raise the cost so that they do not do it in perpetuity, with impunity.
I think you make a very important point. And remember, in a larger scheme of things, what has happened today is that we've sent a message to Pakistan that this 30-year-old battle you've been waging of trying to bleed India by 1,000 cuts, why a low-cost proxy battle, there is no low cost now. You bleed us, we will pound you. Nitin Gokhale, the entire dictionary of strategic affairs in India is being rewritten. From strategic restraint, which had been the Indian doctrine for about 30 years, which is basically pusillanimity, not to do anything at all, to just sit back and offer the other cheek, to strategic resolve. From politico-civilian indecision to politico-civilian decision-making, proactive and preemptive. This whole universe of strategic affairs is being rewritten in India at this time.
Indeed, in fact, now it's going to be interesting to see how India is going to build on this landmark game changer, as General Bhatia called it, event, the development that has taken place today. Let's see it from a point of view of future options that India will have to develop, because Pakistan, again, let me reiterate this, I had said this post-Uri attack or post-Uri surgical strikes, that one surgical strike is not going to deter or change Pakistan's behavior, and therefore let's also look ahead and see to it that this is a sustained campaign, not military, I'm just saying, but we must have a larger context to it diplomatically. And as we can see, because India launched a diplomatic offensive, even China today seems to be backing India's action without condemning it and telling Pakistan to be restrained and try and make peace. So therefore, there is a multi-pronged approach. There is a multi-pronged approach that is available, which should be exploited. Military is one of the elements, and it should be used when required, when there is a result that is required to be obtained. And I personally believe that Indian capability, Indian morale of the Indian armed forces, Indian people has gone up with this. But India needs to fill the gaps that are there, the capability gaps. There are voids. There is obsolescence in India's capabilities. That also we know. Let's not ignore all that just because we have carried out this very important, very successful and very impactful strike by the Indian Air Force, taken after a very decisive step taken by the political leadership at the highest level. So therefore, let's have that realism also built into this.
Affairs Editor Rahul Srivastav joins us. He's tracking all the political developments on this. At 5 p.m. there's a meeting that's been called where opposition party leaders will be briefed. Rahul, the Cabinet Committee on Security was briefed by National Security Advisor Ajit Doval. You've got some details on what happened. Take our viewers through those.
Rahul, what we are told by top sources in the government, that right now the government is on one hand on a constant monitoring stage, but there are also certain nervous moments in the government, primarily because the government is keeping a very keen eye, collating reports coming from various intelligence sources based deep in Pakistan as well as at the borders on what next as far as Pakistan is concerned. Interestingly, during the CCS meeting, the Cabinet Committee on Security, chaired by the Prime Minister in the morning, Mr. Ajit Doval, the National Security Advisor, gave a very detailed account on the Air Force strike target which was there. What Mr. Doval seems to have told the members of the CCS, that this was not an ordinary launch pad, this was not an ordinary training center, but a virtual garrison. The virtual garrison in which 25 top commanders of the Jaish have been liquidated because of the Indian Air Force strike. What sources are saying, it had facilities for training as far as weapons is concerned. There were firing ranges, there were explosive ranges there where terrorists were trained. A large number was moved into this camp after the Pulwama attack, fearing any kind of a surgical strike by India. It had offices which were air conditioned. It had proper structures in terms of barracks for those who were being trained in this center. What sources are also saying that, if you could please hold on, that in December 27, Abdullah, the son of Masood Azhar, underwent advanced training at this very camp, which was demolished in the midnight strike. The planning of Pulwama attack was done in Balakot. Abdul Rashid Ghazi was also trained at Balakot. Jaish recruits underwent training in the last 3 months, this including training in suicide attacks at this very camp. The Balakot camp, so according to sources, had 6 barracks. Construction was also taking place to increase the strength. Around 300 cadres are always present at the camp at any given time. Now, one more point which is emerging is that on Yusuf Azhar, the camps of Jaish were being handled by Yusuf after Masood Azhar maintained a low profile. So a very detailed account was presented by the National Security Advisor on presenting a kind of an evidence on the kind of strike or the caliber of the strike that the Indian Air Force struck last night.
Joining us now, thanks Rahul Srivastava. We come back to you in a bit. Also, when that briefing of of opposition leaders takes place, Dr. Sambit Patra of the Bharatiya Janata Party, Aishwarya Mahadev of the Congress. Dr. Patra, a big moment this. We're seeing complete denial, a high level of delusion in Pakistan. We just got accused of having violated the Paris Agreement on climate change because some trees were knocked down inside Pakistan by the Air Force. So they are now planning to complain that we violated the Paris Agreement on climate change. Bizarre reactions, Dr. Patra, from Pakistan.
And Rahul, I saw you laughing it away as well, and that was the most befitting reply from your side. So I believe we did not give any replies to the Pakistani guests who had come on your show today. But let me begin by congratulating every panelist over here, because at the end of the day, this is a huge paradigm shift as far as our great nation India is concerned. A paradigm shift that India will not take it lying low. Of course, I would not say this is a revenge of Pulwama, but I would say that this is a huge victory because these were preemptive strikes. Intelligence suggested that there were many commanders who were being recruited. There were many people, Fidains in particular, who were being motivated for such kind of suicidal attacks across the country. And that's the reason as to why I say this is a preemptive change in India's stand. Preemptively, India attacks one of the most modernized bases of terrorists. And this is one of the acts in which largest number of terrorists, I would say, have been liquidated at one go. And remember, as far as Balakot attack is concerned, these are extremely important because of the reason that this is not it is not just the POK region that is involved. We have crossed the LOC, we have crossed even the international border. And this particular terrorist hub was a modern infrastructure for terror training. It was not a launch pad. It was a modern infrastructure with swimming pools, with recreational centers, with modern gadgets, with firing ranges. So of course, if Pakistan rather is left with no other option than to deny. If it accepts, then Pakistanis and Pak dispensation cannot hide behind the excuse that these were the non-state players, because without Pakistan knowing about such a huge structure, this structure would not have existed. And I'm happy today that I'm talking in past tense, that there was a structure which today no longer exists.
So far we've seen from the Congress President Rahul Gandhi, we've seen from Samajwadi Party's Akhilesh Yadav, from Arvind Kejriwal in Delhi. Commendation for the job done by the Indian Air Force. Is that the way it will stay, or will our netas find a way of bickering, trying to turn this into a political issue as well very soon? Aishwarya Mahadev?
The Indian National Congress had categorically stated that any decisive action that the government of India, led by Prime Minister Narendra Modi, decides to take, that we will unequivocally support them. And that is what we're doing today. We are telling the nation, and also our leadership has spoken about the fact that our armed forces were able to undertake such a monumental attack against the that is sponsoring terrorism, and we stand in appreciation and commendation for all those involved, whether it's the Prime Minister, whether it's the Defence Ministry, the Home Ministry, the Armed Forces, absolutely everybody. The political bickering came from the fallout of what had happened because of the Pulwama attacks and the government's lack of response at that point, whether it was the Kashmiri students being attacked or whether the fact that there was an intelligence lap and there was clear politicization on the part of the BJP president initially, and that's what started it. I believe, Rahul, today that India has taken decisive action. So those that are part of it need to be given that credit. And I believe that India today has shown the world stage that we are not going to take things lying down, and a preemptive action has been taken. And I believe under international law that there is absolutely no flaws with it, because it satisfies the Caroline test that we have seen under international law. And I think that India is on the right
Are you
track.
worried about a retaliation from Pakistan? In that statement put out by the Pak PM, he talks about responding at a time and place of his choosing. That's the language India has used, Dr. Patra, in the past. Is the Modi government concerned about retaliation from Pakistan?
See, as far as retaliation, the probability of retaliation is concerned, that is for the Indian Army and the Indian external ministry to in fact call upon and to react upon. But I would say that as far as Pakistan is concerned, I mean, they're in a bind, they're in a catch-22 situation. We have a section in Pakistan who are perpetually in a denial mood, and in fact you were seeing the Pakistani guest right now on a television channel who had in fact talked about environmental damages by the attack by India, while we have a second section in Pakistan who are talking about retaliation. I mean, it is because of such kind of denial by Pakistan that Pakistanis could not even claim the bodies of their own Jawans post-Kargil. Because if they accept that damage has been done, if they accept that attack has been done, and one of the terror camps of Jaish-e-Mohammed has been reduced to dust, of course it is acceptance of the fact that it was Pakistan which was promoting terrorism. And if they don't accept that, we will have more of the scenes that we saw today in Pakistan's Senate, where in fact we had Imran Khan Murdabad slogan. So of course they would be damned if they do, they would be damned if they don't.
And Sareen, what
Either
kind of
way, they would be
response are
damned.
we going to expect from Pakistan? Do you believe that this whole talk of responding and retaliating at a time and place of their choosing is for real, and that response will be forthcoming over the next few hours and days, or it is only like Sheikh Chilli talking through his hat?
Rahul, look, let's face it, it's a serious situation, and we shouldn't take any threat coming from the Pakistani side lightly. And I'm sure the government of India would have prepared for all contingencies before taking this step. They would not be letting down their guard. They would not be, in a backslapping kind of a mode, and that all is when this is the end of it. So I think the Indian Armed Forces will be maintaining a 24/7 vigil, and in the event that the Pakistanis manage to launch some kind of a retaliation, some kind of an attack, I think be rest assured, having known something about this government, they are not going to take it lying down, and in fact they are going to go up the escalation ladder in a way that the Pakistanis will probably not be expecting. So I think the Pakistanis have left themselves some room by behaving as though nothing really has happened. Well, the Indians came in and they ran away and they just dropped the bomb somewhere 2-3 kilometers inside they came, no big deal. But I think that's the kind of wriggle room they are trying to make for themselves. I don't see any reason why we should not give them that wriggle room, but we should keep our powder dry, and I'm sure the government of India would be doing that. Pakistan's
The challenges, General Bhatia, was to ensure that there was surprise. You know, despite the fact that they were prepared for us, we still surprised them because we struck so far inside Pakistani soil. If we struck somewhere close to the LOC, we may not have been able to catch them by surprise. We went so far in that there was surprise even then in what we did.
Yeah, but Rahul, there was no strategic surprise because they knew that's going to come. It's only a question
did
of
they expect
when.
us to come so
No,
far
that's
in?
what I'm saying. It's only a question of when. So what we done is we achieved operational surprise. So we went to our target. They were expecting something on the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. We went beyond that. We entered Pakistan and hit the mother camp out there, which has got all the facilities. So we chose the target very well. So what you actually see is happening is We have a multi-domain approach out there. We synergize and harmonize our diplomatic domain, our economic domain,
And we
information
build
domain.
ground assets on the ground inside
yeah, create
Pakistan.
assets, totally. And these are strikes which are very beautifully carried out. These are delicate operations. They can go wrong also. And this is again the professionalism of the Indian Air Force. And I salute all the heroes who have done this. But the fact remains, a Purana Pakistan is now seeing a new India. So that is what it is. They have to change. It's the Purana Pakistan. They are still in denial mode. They're still in deception mode. They're still in the same old mode. And they are seeing a new India, a new resolve.
This is very powerful. A Purana Pakistan is seeing a new India. You know, there is no Naya Pakistan. It's that same Purana Pakistan. And what it is actually seeing is a new India. Sambit Patra, you're being accused by the Imran Khan government of trying to use these attacks for political gain. They somehow seem to be under the illusion that this is being done by the Prime Minister because he wants to win a big majority in the elections. How do you respond to this?
See, in fact, the frustration of Imran Khan has to be understood. The frustration of Imran Khan stems from the fact that Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, where Balakot, in fact, was the Balakot training camp was reduced to dust. It is one of his home territories. So when, in fact, the Indian Air Force enters Mr. Imran Khan's home territory, bombs it there, reduces it to dust, it's but natural that Mr. Imran Khan would be frustrated. There are repercussions of this within his own country, political repercussions, I would say. So it's but natural that he would try to throw it towards India with such kind of unfounded statements. We have to understand one thing, that Mr. Imran Khan today is an indecisive Prime Minister of Pakistan because of the very fact that he does not know whether to swallow it or whether to accept it. So let us see what happens in the future. But I would agree with what Mr. Sushant Sareen said, that as far as retaliation etc. is concerned, it is for the government, it is for the army, not for the spokespersons to be talking about it.
Pakistan hasn't changed its responses, Sushant Sareen. A new India has changed how it will respond and retaliate to a Pakistani provocation, and that really in one sentence sums up what we are seeing, a new red line being drawn. You attack us, we will pound you.
Rahul, two things. I'll come to your question in just a bit. But I think there is one more tantalizing possibility. I don't think the Indian Air Force or the Indian Armed Forces, and very rightly so, will disclose any of the operational details of how they managed to, evade the Pakistani air defense systems and all of that. Please remember that the Pakistanis would have been on a 24/7 vigil. It's not as though they would have let down their guard, not just yet, unless of course they were sleeping, which is entirely possible. But I would be surprised if that was the case, which means that we would have used certain things or certain electronic warfare means to actually shut them down for some time. Number one. Number two, there is also a tantalizing possibility, and I'm completely speculating out here. You remember Mr. Trump saying that I think that the Indians are going to do something very big. I wonder if he was in the loop, and I wonder if there was some kind of joint operation, if you will, of the Americans. Like I said, I'm purely speculating, but it's a very tantalizing prospect, because it's not as though that the Americans are in love with the Pakistanis. On the larger question of a new India, I think that's very clear. The first indications of that came in 2016 during the surgical strikes. There was a bit of flip-flop when, the Prime Minister congratulated Imran Khan, the selected Prime Minister of Pakistan, and I think that was needless. He needn't have done that. But having done that and shown his noble intentions, I think there was no delusion in India on what Imran Khan is all about. So the kind of response which we saw today morning was something which everybody was expecting. I've been saying that something like this will happen. What exactly it will be, nobody can say. The point is that a lot of red lines which we had imposed upon ourselves, a lot of restraint which we had imposed upon ourselves for the last 40 years now, I think that has gone out of the window. So today, we have not just crossed the LOC, we've actually crossed the Pakistani border, we've hit them inside Pakistan, and if you can do it in KP, tomorrow you could just as well do it in Punjab or somewhere else. I hope it doesn't come down to that, but if the Pakistanis want to try this out, I think they'll have a very nasty surprise coming their way. Finally, one more thing. I think we must congratulate the opposition parties, especially the principal opposition party, for behaving in a very mature manner. National security, national interest are not issues on which you do politics. If you congratulate the government of the day, the prime minister of the day, you do not become small if you do that on an occasion like this. There have been plenty of occasions when the now government congratulated the now opposition when they were in power, when something like this happened. So I think that is something, there is a lot of issues on which we can do politics. National security and national integrity and national unity is not one of those issues. And I must congratulate the opposition party for behaving in an extremely responsible and mature manner.
Okay. Do you, General Bhatia, want to come in on this theory that maybe electronic warfare support came in from the United States? Because if we've gone in so far in, come back without the Pakistani jets even being able to scramble, there is a high possibility that all their air defense systems were immobilized, jammed at that moment, enabling us to come in, and maybe we had international support, Israel, the United States?
I really do not know this. These are, operational details. I won't be privy to it. But let me say that we have the capabilities to do it all alone. So let's not, say that we had or did not have international support. But the fact is, in the diplomatic domain, we had the international support, and that's more important. At the operational level, we have the capability to do it all alone. I think it's a excellently selected target. The last time we did it, it was inside POK. And that was a change which came about. We had a counter-terrorism strategy all along, which never talked of punitive and preemptive operations. So in September 2016, that changed. And what a change now is that we can go to any length, any distance, any depth to make sure that wherever we hit, it hurts hard, it hurts deep. So that is the change which I'm talking about. And Pakistan has to be aware now that if there is a next time, they'll have the costs again to it. Aim is not, I don't think the aim is, punishment, the aim is to revenge. The aim should be to ensure a secure India. And if that is the aim, our security threats, immediate security threats emanate from Pakistan and from Pakistani army and from Pakistan terrorism, sponsored terrorism.
I want to tell our viewers that there are television journalists who are in the area of Balakot, where in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, deep inside Pakistan, about 190 kilometers from Islamabad, where this attack took place. They say the Pakistani army has cordoned off the entire area. They are clearing all evidence from Balakot. So obviously, before the international media reaches there, attempts being made to sanitize the area, remove all remnants of the Jaish-e-Mohammed training camp, so that they can show that there are no dead bodies, they can show that there was nothing there. So there are also psychological operations, General Bhatia, which are at play, clearing out the Balakot terror camp, so that by the time the international media, the CNN, the BBCs of the world get there, there's nothing to see and nothing to show.
Yeah, if they've been destroyed, they will take out the telltale marks out, what is left out there, and they will try to portray that the Indian Air Force and the Indian Armed Forces just destroyed a particular hill feature and nothing has come about it. But that is, it is their right to do it. They will always, portray that there are no terrorist camps in Pakistan, but no one believes them. The point is that whatever you do, it has to a certain amount of belief also. And Pakistan, everyone knows that that is the terror they are supporting. So no one's going to believe them, but they will try in any case. That's what I'm trying to say. It is again the Purana Pakistan, deniability, deceit, getting into things like lies. So that's what I'm trying to tell you.
Our business editor Rajiv Dubey has done some interesting calculations. I'll take you through what he's saying. It took a mere 1.7 crore rupees of bombs to teach the Jaish-e-Mohammed in Pakistan a lesson. Assets worth 6,300 crore rupees were deployed by India to teach Pakistan this lesson. So if you just add up the 12 Mirage 2000s costing about 2,568 crores, the AVAC system, that's the aerial warning system, about 1,750, the Sukhoi 30s which were kept in the back areas as reinforcement, about 1,074 crores. Add all of that up, about 6,264 plus the cost of the bombs, the 225 kilograms, GBU 12, each bomb worth about 7.5 lakh rupees, adding up to about 1.68 to 2.2 crores. So war is expensive, make no mistake. We don't want war. We want to tell Pakistan, Sushant Sareen, that this is unacceptable. I think that's the key message, Sambit Patra, that's being sent. It's not as if India is seeking war or India doesn't want peace. India just wants to send Pakistan a message: beware, behave, and we want to be friends.
Rahul, I think that was made very clear by Mr. Modi when he came into power, that his focus is going to be on development and India's rebirth. I don't think the Pakistanis took that very seriously, and that was their mistake. Look, let's face it. What are we going to do with Pakistan? It's a dump, anyways. Why should we want to occupy that dump? We would much rather turn our back on them and pretend they don't exist, provided they don't keep us poking us in the eye and in other parts of our body. So the point is that if the Pakistanis were to desist from exporting terrorism into India, I think India would be more than happy to have some modus vivendi of a relationship with them, perhaps even normalization of relations with them. But they can't continue to kill our people. They can't continue to point a gun at our head and demand that talk to us. They can't continue sponsoring terrorism into India. They can't continue doing all the kind of hostile activities they do against India and not expect any kind of a riposte. Now, for the last 40 years, there was really no riposte coming from India. I think we were behaving like the nice guys, the responsible guys. But enough is enough. Somewhere down the line, you have to draw a line and say that, okay, fine, this far and no further. And I think that line in the sand has been drawn. It was drawn in 2016. It has been drawn even firmer today. Henceforth, if the Pakistanis were going to try anything, I think Mr. Modi, what he has done is he has changed the equation. Until now, there was an attack from Pakistan and there was condemnation from India, or there were complaints from India. And that was the standard operating procedure, right? We used to retaliate by threatening to retaliate. Now that equation has changed, and the X factor has been Mr. Modi and his ability to take the kind of very serious risks. So, whether you like Mr. Modi or you don't like Mr. Modi, you have to give him this, that he has taken major political risk both in the surgical strikes as well as in the airstrikes. And the thing is that once you inject this kind of an X factor, then all bets are off. And what do the Pakistanis do now? They don't know how India or how strongly India is going to react. If on a terror attack, India has reacted as strongly as it has done, then what happens if there is any kind of a conventional adventurism or misadventurism from the Pakistani side? All bets are off on that count. So I think Mr. Modi,
I think this is where the Prime Minister gets some credit, because these options have existed for a long time. These options existed at the time of the Parliament attack. These options existed at the time of the 26/11 attack. Those options weren't exercised. What's changed is that there is now firm political will backing the military options that the Indian Armed Forces have.
No, of course, Rahul. I mean, as far as the Indian Army, the Indian Navy or the Indian Air Force is concerned, they were equally strong when we were not in existence as a government as well. They were equally strong way back in 2008 when we had the Hotel Taj attack. They were equally strong when we had the Parliament attack. But remember, what was lacking somewhere down the line, as you rightly pointed out, was the political will and a strong leadership as Mr. Modi. And Mr. Modi spoke about it in Churu today. Desh nahi jhukne dunga, desh nahi mitne dunga. This kind of what we call in Hindi jazba, this kind of emotion that the Prime Minister exudes is something which has brought about this much needed paradigm shift in what the general was the defense expert was saying in New India. What is New India? New India is nothing but a political will which gives out a message that this country, this nation has the right to protect itself. It has the right to protect its territory. It has the right to protect its sovereignty. And that's what we have done. It is not punitive. It is preemptive. So words like war is something which
will be asked often that these options existed. Your governments in the past never had the courage to exercise these options. All of what is being done by Modi and Doval and the armed forces now could have been done by your government if you had the courage to bite the bullet.
Rahul, very simple fact of the matter is history and the idea of India did not begin post 2014. There have been 3 wars under the Congress. You've also seen the fact that we've had several surgical strikes, all of which have been kept covert for reasons best known to the defense at that point. However, let me put out the fact that when everybody speaks about decisive action, speaks about ideas of preemptive action and whatnot, you also need to realize that the biggest threat when it comes to rogue nations, whether it is the Democratic People's Republic of Korea, whether it is Iran or even Pakistan, that rogue nations do not work along the same lines of diplomacy, and these are nuclear capable countries. The fact of the matter is Pakistan is a sponsor of terrorism. Pakistan is an enemy, and I believe that there has been action taken throughout, none of which has been publicized or a movie has been made about. But surgical strikes have occurred in our time.
Aishwarya Mahadev, never have the Indian Air Force jets crossed the line of control proactively in the last 50 years. This has never happened. So don't make it seem as if it's happened since 1971. Even during the Kargil war, when Atal Bihari Vajpayee was Prime Minister, he told the Indian Air Force not to cross the line of control. So don't make it seem as if, oh, ye to hota rehta hai, it's no big deal like you tried with the surgical strikes. This is a paradigm shift in India's response to Pakistan. And these are options you could have exercised. You are clapping now, but you didn't have the courage to do this when you were in power. That is a fact. You can't take that away.
Nobody is denying the fact that what has happened today is unprecedented. The fact of the matter is, just because this has happened today doesn't negate the fact that under the Congress government that we have successfully led efforts against Pakistan. Yes, what has happened today is something completely different, but you also need to realize India needs to be completely equipped to handle the fallout of this situation. All of us are seeing preemptive attack and whatnot, and under international law it's very hardly sanctioned for us not to have the UN come down on us, right? And also the
see whether the UN comes down on us, what needs to be done with that. For the time being, I want to go across to Syed Noman Ali Shah. He's a journalist with News 1 television. He's been to the Jaba top, which is the area where this attack apparently took place. Noman, आपको मेरी आवाज आ रही है?
जी मैं सुन रहा हूँ आपको।
नोमन बताइए कि आप जहाँ गए, जहाँ पर ये वाकया हुआ, जहाँ पर ये एपिसोड हुआ, जहाँ पे इंडियन आर्मी ने, इंडियन एयरफोर्स ने जाके बम दागे, वहाँ पे आपने क्या देखा नोमन?
जी हम तकरीबन सुबह 7 बजे के करीब हम यहाँ पर पहुँचे। जब यहाँ पर करीब ही खैबर पख्तूनख्वा की सूबाई असम्बली का इलेक्शन हो रहा है, सूबाई असम्बली का, तो हम इलेक्शन की कवरेज के लिए जा रहे थे। तो जब हमें ये पता चला कि यहाँ पर ये वाकया हुआ है और ये मानसरा के करीब जो बालाकोट है, यहाँ का ये दावा किया जा रहा है कि यहाँ पर एयर स्ट्राइक हुई हैं और यहाँ पर कुछ लोगों की हलाकतें भी हुई हैं। तो यहाँ पर हम पहुँचे हैं तो यहाँ पर बिल्कुल हालात नॉर्मल हैं। यहाँ पर कोई भी किसी किस्म की किसी हलाकत की कोई तस्दीक नहीं हुई, ना ही कोई बंदा जख्मी हुआ है। ताहम सिर्फ यहाँ पर जो फजाइया की तरफ से जो अपना एयर लोड है वो यहाँ पर छोड़ा गया है, उसके यहाँ पर निशानात देखे जा सकते हैं। जिस तरह हमारे आर्मी के इदारा ISPR ने भी उसकी तस्दीक की है और वो चीज़ें हमने अपनी आंखों से देखी हैं। कुछ दरख्त वगैरह यहाँ पर टूटे हैं और उससे कुछ गड़े वगैरह 1-2 जगह पर बने हैं मामूली से। और उसके अलावा क्योंकि यहाँ पर करीब में आबादी नहीं है, 2.5 से 3 किलोमीटर के दूर आबादी है और ये पहाड़ी एरिया है, पहाड़ी का बिल्कुल टॉप है जहाँ पर ये कार्रवाई हुई है या जो कार्रवाई की गई है जिसका दावा किया जा रहा है। तो हम इसमें जो हलाकों के हवाले से खबर चल रही है इसमें कोई सदाकत नहीं है, क्योंकि हम यहाँ पर सुबह 6 बजे जो पाकिस्तानी टाइम है वहाँ पर हम यहाँ पर पहुँच चुके थे। उसके बाद से हम यहाँ पर मुसलसल मसरूफ हैं, यहीं पर मौजूद हैं और अभी बाकी यहाँ पर मीडिया की टीमें भी यहाँ पर मौजूद हैं। तो यहाँ पर इस किस्म की ना कोई मूवमेंट हो रही है, ना कोई हमने देखा है किसी जख्मी को ले जाते हुए, ना किसी डेड बॉडी को ले जाते हुए। तो यहाँ पर लाजमी बात है जब चीज़ें हुई नहीं है, जब हलाकतें होती हैं अगर, तो यहाँ से ले जाते हुए नज़र आनी चाहिए, क्योंकि एक ही रास्ता है जो पहाड़ी की तरफ जाता है, तकरीबन 2 से 2.5 किलोमीटर का रास्ता है। हम ऊपर तक गए हैं। अब से कुछ देर बाद यहाँ पर ISPR की टीमें भी आएंगी और दोबारा तमाम मीडिया को कहा गया है कि हम आपको वहाँ पर विजिट भी करवाएंगे और तफसीली ब्रीफिंग भी दी जाएगी कि क्या असल वाक़या हुआ है, उसमें क्या हुआ है। लेकिन किसी भी किस्म का जानी या माली नुकसान ISPR ने भी उसकी तस्दीक की है नहीं हुआ और हमने अपनी आंखों से भी यहाँ पर देखा है, कोई जानी या माली नुकसान नहीं हुआ। सिर्फ पहाड़ी पर जो
Syed Noman
गड़े वगैरह बने हुए हैं वो
Ali Shah, thank you for joining us. That's a version of a journalist who claims to have been to the spot where this attack took place. Sambit Patra, we saw this post the surgical strikes as well. Pakistan completely in denial. We're seeing exactly the same even now. They have accepted that this is Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. So it's not the LOC Balakot, it's in Khyber Pakhtunkhwa, very deep inside Pakistan. But this is yahan kuch nahi hua, sirf jungle gire hue. Nothing happening, only some damage to the forest, nothing else.
See, Rahul, we are reminded of those days when the Kargil war happened, and thereafter, because of this deniability, it was Pakistan which did not even agree to accept the dead bodies of its own Jawans. So remember, it was India who finally buried the Jawans. I mean, what a horrible treatment of their own army men by its own country. That is what Pakistan is. As far as Balakot is concerned, well, yes, in the morning probably you had a caveat. I was listening to you, Rahul, that which Balakot it is. Now it is confirmed that it is the Balakot of Khyber Pakhtunkhwa. And let me tell you, it is extremely important because it is not in POK. It is in Pakistan. You have to cross the international border, A, and Khyber Pakhtunkhwa is Imran Khan's territory. It is his home territory, and that is the reason as to why Mr. Imran Khan is completely rattled. But I would take out some time, though I believe today is not a day of politicization, but I would just offer to my younger sister from the Congress party over here, Ms. Aishwarya, that please let's not indulge into such kind of rhetorics that Pakistan, we have to remember that Pakistan is a nuclear capable state. For God's sake, whatever, it is only a terror capable state. And secondly, as far as UN coming down heavily on us is concerned, let me just remind you that there is some kind of, I would say, frustration in Pakistan because of the fact that OIC has invited Sushma Swaraj ji to address the plenary session on 1st of March. So remember, we have diplomatic victory all around the OIC and whatever has happened in the morning as well. So please, for God's sake, if we have decided not to politicize, let's not get into whataboutery.
Thanks for watching the video. For more such news and updates, please like, share and subscribe to India Today. Also check out our other great videos from our channel. We know you will love to.